How's everything over there?
Everything is pretty good. Just working hard, getting things in line for the next big touring period of time. Got a major tour coming up, doing a lot of interviews for my solo album, which is, also happening, as you very well know,
Yeah,
really soon. And yeah, working on some cool stuff.
nice, nice, very good, and congratulations on the new album, Jordan. If I'm not mistaken, this is your 20th album, counting the compilations. Wow.
Feeling old. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and I've been listening to the album nonstop since I got it. And I've been really captivated by the harmonies, the music, the lyrics, the beautiful work you all did. And I was wondering, can you share some insights into the inspiration and the creative process behind the album?
Of course. So, um, I put out a lot of different kinds of music on my own because I have a lot of musical influences, thoughts, feelings, whatever emotions that is really important for me to put out. And, one of the things I'm sure you're aware of is I do a lot of piano music, kind of organic, things sitting at the piano. Also, in my solo career, I've done a lot of, progressive rock stuff and many different things. So I was feeling like it was really time to have kind of another progressive rock album. I wanted to express myself that way. Kind of a follow-up to my album, which was called Wired for Madness. But this time I wanted it to be a little bit to do something which also had a lot of vocals on it, because I'm someone who always responds and listens to a lot of vocal music. So I felt like, you know what, I want to put out my usual kind of thing that people maybe even expect in the prog rock area, which is wild journey music that just takes you on a trip. But I also wanted to have some things that were more maybe immediate things with vocals, and balance it in a different way than I ever have. So the first stage of all that was realizing what I wanted to do. And then, of course, finding a way to know that it was going to come out through a good channel. In this case, it's coming out through Inside Out Sony. So that's, that worked out beautifully. Um, one of the big challenges, one of the first challenges was kind of coming to an understanding and a feeling for who I wanted to sing on this album. Because since I wanted it to be a lot of vocals, I needed to find a vocalist who was going to be able to express my musical vision, or somebody that I felt like his voice blended in with what I was doing sonically, emotionally with my music. So that was a little bit hard to do because, there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of people with really nice voices, a lot of guys who are singing like Cookie Monster these days. So, maybe the choices were even more limited than usual. But I had a strong feeling for what I wanted to do, but finding somebody was a different story. Well, that kind of changed when I had a conversation with Roy from Prog Report, who knows everybody in the progressive world. And he mentioned this guy who goes by the name of That Joe Payne to me, and who's from the group Enid. I didn't know anything about the Enid or Joe Payne. But I went and I just listened to his voice. I was curious to hear his singing, and I thought, wow. Was pretty much done. So even if that was going to happen, it wasn't likely it could. So soon after our first call, I got in touch with him and asked him if he wanted to sing on my album. And he said yes. And, it all worked out so well because he's not only a great guy and a great singer, but he's also quite, knowledgeable about music, and he could just take a lot of things and really handle them himself. He would take, my suggested melodies, and he'd come back with vocal arrangements that were really beautiful and inspired. And I, appreciated that, and I just felt, feel really happy that he sang on the album. And then, the approach that I have with these albums is, imagine me like sitting in front of my stereo speakers, and with my whole palette of sounds. These days I can put my hand on any sound you can imagine with all the software and all the synthesizers. It's wide open, and I feel like I'm a painter when I'm doing these solo albums, much like the picture in back of you. A little bit of red, a little bit of blue, detail here. Oh, now I'll put a little thing here. And I'm just creating. Yeah, I'm just creating this world of sound, and I love that. But of course, I wanted to have drums, and I enlisted my buddy from the Dream Sonic tour, Darby Todd, who I met when he was playing with Devin Townsend, and we hit it off in a big way, become really close friends. And he was not scared of playing drums on Jordan Rudess music. Any odd time signatures or anything wild, he was like, bring it on, man. I can do this. And he did. He did a fantastic job. And then, as long as we're talking about the players, so, you know, um, with my whole world of sound, I really can make whatever keyboard sounds, orchestra sounds, drum sounds, guitar sounds, spacey, weird sounds. So I tend to do a lot of it myself, at least, especially in fleshing out the song. But one of the things that happened was, I have a very good friend of mine. His name is Steve Jadayan. He's an accomplished electric guitarist, but also an acoustic classical guitarist, and also a professional dentist. Um, Unbelievably, one of these guys that does everything well. And then we were hanging out one day, and he said, Jordan, he says, you're playing these cool guitar sounds on the keyboard, but why don't you let me play them? I'll take it and I'll replace them and play them on the guitar. And you know what? I was like, okay, try it. That's cool. Because I know my keyboard sounded great, and nobody would really probably say anything like it doesn't sound good or whatever. But I felt like, it's rock music, having a real guitar. Yeah, let's try that, of course. So he did one song, and he sent it back, and I was like, oh man, this is great. You sound fantastic. And he was like, just send me anything you want. I'll take all your different guitar-like sounds, and I'll do it on real guitar. And I was like, yes. Okay, agreed. So he did all that, and it just added, more life. It just sounded so great. He did a beautiful job. Especially did a great job in that opening riff of The Alchemist, which is so hard. And we played it in unison, and he nailed it. It was impressive. So that was great. And then the other instrumental element was that I discovered this guy. His name is Bastian Martinez, who is a young Chilean guitar player. He's making big waves in the social media world. Whenever anybody sees him, they're like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. His biggest influences happen to be myself and John Petrucci. But as a guitar player, what's really interesting about him is that, as much as he's influenced by John Petrucci, as he should be, because John, of course, is the king of guitar, but he's also really influenced by me, and takes the lines that I play and tries to work them out on the guitar in his own work, and kind of find a balance of the two, and also the other things that interest him. But anyway, he's fantastic, young guy. I had him play a couple solos on the album. Into the Lair is one of them, and the song Embers is the other one. And the final instrumental thing to mention is, I played a couple of guitar solos on the album as well. One of them is on The Alchemist, which I didn't put on the video that I released because I was feeling a little shy about it. But that is me playing the guitar solo. And then the lyrics. I want, of course, because it was a vocal album, and because because I wanted to have, a lot of vocals, we needed to have really great lyrics. And although I like writing lyrics, I felt like, let me give this lyric job to somebody who's really into words and meaning, and knows me and my music and where I'm coming from. And my daughter was like the perfect person to do that with, because she's amazing with language, she's creative, and she's been in my progressive music world since the day she was born, basically being trained for the job. So to even understand how to write lyrics when the meters are so interesting, whatever. So she took it, and I think she did just an incredible job. So yeah, so that's kind of like the where it's coming from.
Yeah, and how did her input, I mean, your daughter, Ariana, how did her input shape the overall thematic direction of the album? And what was it like to collaborate with your daughter?
Yeah, well, so because she understands me so well, she was able to take the music that I wrote and write lyrics and to fit them into what what the music was. And she was able to handle so much of it on her own. The main thing that I care about with the lyrics is that they really sound good with the music. If you have words, which, sometimes when you're listening to a song, all of a sudden a word it'll distract you because it doesn't seem to fit the music. So with Ariana, I basically didn't have that problem because she's also really sensitive to the same thing, but she's also really she's a great writer. So she was able to craft these stories for each song that are just, I think, really give some extra meaning to the album and more for the listener to sink their minds into, and just kind of, it's always good to have as many cool elements in these, works like an album as possible.
Yeah, right. You've been known for using pianos, guitars, arpeggios, continuum, mobile apps. You use like everything. And did you use any new instruments in this album, or?
Well, it was the first time I played guitar I mean, that's not a new instrument, but for me, it was a new instrument to play on the album. But beyond that, I'm trying to think if there's anything like new. Not necessarily. No, there really wasn't.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
mentioned partnering with Moises AI. And
Yes.
yeah, and your first singles, Embers. How did that collaboration come about, and what do you hope fans will gain from using the app to interact with your music?
Um, yeah, so that was an interesting thing because, I'm also a technologist as well as being a musician, and I do work with different companies, both in the audio domain, but also in the visual domain. In the visual domain, I work very closely with a company called Lightrix that makes some incredible photo and video, and now in the AI world. So I'm very interested in work with them. In the audio domain, one of the companies that I work with most closely is Moises, which is a company that actually started out in Brazil, and now they've become kind of more international. But they do incredible software, great tools for musicians that allow the musician to take any kind of like audio file, like stereo audio file, or even a video file, load it up to their system, and then it can come back as separate tracks. So like if you're a guitar player and you're trying to work on something and you're trying to figure out a John Petrucci lead, you can upload a Dream Theater song to the Moises system, comes back. Now you have full access to controlling the volume of the drums, the bass, the guitar, the vocals. So you could listen to the song instrumentally, you could solo the lead guitar. It's really, really incredibly amazing. So in support of Moises and them in support of me, we decided the best, coolest way to release this track would be if we release it within the Moises app, which is basically available on all platforms. And not only that, we released it with a contest. So people could remove a track and then that they could add their own playing to it. So we had drummers and guitar players and keyboardists and vocalists, and I think we had a sax player, all kinds of people like participated in this contest we had. And it was really, really fun. And that's the way people heard the song for the first time.
Yeah, I bet. You've experiment with a blend of prog compositions and sweeping ballads on Permission to Fly. And I wanted to ask what themes or stories were most essential for you to address on this album?
You mean from a lyrical point of view?
Yeah.
That's a good Ari question.
Ah.
That's a really good one. The way she describes it is after taking my basic input for the kind of things that I like to talk about, fictional, spacey, talking about planets and stars and wizards and all the different things. She kind of like took that in and then went on her way to craft things that were beyond anything that, I expressed. But her whole larger concept was talking about the world that we live in, and not only the beautiful things, like the kind of things that I like to focus on, but also she was taking into consideration that there's a lot of trouble in the world today. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of divide, and the stories that she built on the album, each song kind of balances between these ideas, presenting the light side of it, but also looking at the dark part of what we're all going through in our very, very crazy world.
Yeah, and what does Permission to Fly means to you, Jordan?
Good question. It's really hard to come up with an album name, because the album name, for me, I usually think of the album name at the beginning of the project because it gives me a feeling about it. Like, what am I trying to express? What's the messaging? Why am I doing this? So, I've got lists of album names on my, phone, and I'll go back, I don't know, maybe that's kind of good. What do you think of this? You know how it is. One day, I'm like, Permission to Fly, Permission to Fly. Wow, I like that. And then even looking at the picture behind you, I'm thinking, this is me, this is kind of it. Just like go for the musical journey. Don't be afraid in your life to just allow yourself to let go and experience. In this case, from one point of view, Permission to Fly. Please take you have my permission to put on headphones and go for the full ride of the album and just go for that journey. Take it, listen to the music and take it wherever you go. But also in a bigger kind of life thing, like, it's a beautiful thing to think about what we all can do as individuals to allow ourselves to just be able to, expand and grow and become as connected with higher, realities as possible. Because, it's really easy for all of us to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, and it's super easy, and we tend to be brought down by everything that's around us. It's really hard, but it's really important to work against that and to do whatever it is. Like for me, I'm starting to feel this pressure of life and this and that, and I'll go to my piano, and for me that's my chance to fly. That's my permission to fly. I put my hand on the chords and I start playing the piano, but also listening, like that's such a big part of it. Like people don't realize how much the listening part is important. Not only as somebody listening to an album like Permission to Fly, but when you're playing a musical instrument, like what's going on? Are you just doing this, this? No, that's not going to allow you to fly. What it's going to allow someone to fly, no matter what skill level they are, no matter how fast the fingers move or slow, the ability to fly will be in putting your hands on a musical instrument and listening and considering and really taking into your sight what the sound is you're making. Anyway, that's a whole concept that I have that I think is really, really important, both as a listener and also as a player and as who we are, no matter if you're a musician or not.
Correct. And as you have mentioned, you have amazed a wide range of sounds over the years. How did you decide what sonic elements to incorporate into this album?
Well, yes, my sonic world is very wide, there's no doubt. And besides the typical or the fundamental things, pianos, organs, bass, in this case, keyboard, bass, drums, vocals, you know, everything else is wide open. And I wanted to build on that foundation because, unlike anything else I do in my life, my solo albums are a chance to just create like a lot of ear candy, and just paint whatever picture that I want with as many colors as I want. It's a Jordan Rudess solo album. I'm a keyboardist, I'm a synthesist, I'm a sound designer. So I decided kind of as we went along, like a lot of these songs, actually the way that this album got started, which is funny, I don't think I've talked about this to anybody else, but I captured myself at the piano. Whenever I would get a mood, I'd feel an emotion. I'd sometimes just walk over to the piano and I play something. Well, I was capturing these little bits and had a file like on my iPhone of all the different things that I recorded. And when it came time to do the album, I sent them to Ariana and I said, hey, listen to these bits. Let's decide which of these would be the best ones to pursue. So, and we did. And that's what got it started, kind of like that organic piano, acoustic piano thing. But after that, I'm just making colors, I just want to give your ears like a real treat. And to me, sometimes that involves a lot of layering, a lot of positioning sounds around so you can kind of go for this sonic journey.
Yeah. And Jordan, do you plan to tour for this new album, or there's no chance now that the Dream Theater tour is about to start, or what are the plans?
Well, this summer I will prepare for the next year or more that starts when we start rehearsing in September. So there's going to be no time to do anything else touring wise, at least for, probably over a year. What I'm thinking about is that I enjoyed working with Darby and Joe and Steve and Bastian, and I would consider making another album. It's too early to really say, but I would consider doing another one like this as a follow-up with this band, and then we'll have even more material. So let's see what the world is like. Let's see what's going on. But that would be kind of cool because then, we have 2 albums to work on, and we could go and do something that would be really, even better.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about a follow-up album, and well, you already gave the news.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask, since you started this album before the Dream Theater recording process, has your work on Permission to Fly in any way influenced the new Dream Theater album in any way?
I mean, I think that as a musician, always evolving and, working on my craft in that sense, yes. I probably had a lot of different harmonic ideas and rhythmic ideas in my head just from the time I spent focusing on my solo album. And I bring those in, to Dream Theater. Dream Theater is a very different situation. I mean, imagine, first of all, picture me in front of my speakers as a keyboardist and just creating this thing, almost like I'm in a bubble, so that's that. And then imagine now I'm in the studio with all the guys at Dream Theater in a rehearsal room, and we're just writing music together, and wearing headphones, just kind of developing, our own parts and everything like that. So my role is, is so different. Um, but but yeah, I mean, certainly I would bring in wherever I was at musically to this, role, to work with all these amazingly talented guys. The Dream Theater thing is very unique, especially now because, Mike Portnoy is back, and that's been a major, you know, thing in so many different ways for the band.
Yeah.
Just having him back is, you know, is like so. It's deep because it was 13 years that he was gone, then he comes back. So all the musical things that he brings, his drumming, his creativity, his mindset about music, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I like to point out that he has kind of like a film director's mentality with with the way that he looks at producing a work like an album, and that talent all is going into this new album, and we're really a team. I mean, John Petrucci, not only is he one of the world's greatest guitar players, but he's also an excellent producer and really has a great way to work with everybody. And so, first of all, I think, everybody's going to love this. I can pretty much guarantee it. We don't mess around. We're not people who take what we do lightly. We were really serious. We stay there and we work on things until they're absolutely right, and until everybody thinks that, okay, this is really great. So I have a feeling that all the Dream Theater fans around the world are in for a really big treat. And of course, they're going to have something to listen to, because on September 6th, Permission to Fly comes out, and they'll have that to listen to while they wait for the Dream Theater album. And there's no official announced release date yet, but they will have a little time to wait, and sink their heads into some good prog and go on the Jordan ride while they wait for this really, what I think is an exceptional, forming to be an exceptional Dream Theater album.
Yeah, and we are only 92 days away from the starting of the tour, and it seems you guys are really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working on it. Like, it's already on my agenda to put all this together. And I will say I do have another interview in a few minutes, so we need to be conscious of that.
Yeah. How much time do you think we have?
I have another interview at noon my time.
Okay. Okay. So we need to wrap this
Yeah,
up.
we need to wrap it up, my friend.
No problem. No problem. Well, let's do it then. And anything that you want to tell your fans about Permission to Fly, Dream Theater, and yeah.
Yeah. Am I talking to any specific? Where are you from? Am I talking to any specific country, or where?
I'm in Venezuela right now.
You're in Venezuela?
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw you here the 3 times with
Oh
Dream
my God.
Theater and also with the orchestral.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that's so incredible. Anyway, yeah, so first of all, greetings to all our amazing fans in Venezuela. We haven't been there in a long time, and hopefully we'll be able to go back there because the fans are incredible and passionate. And they deserve to see a Dream Theater show. But of course, we know the world is crazy and there's a lot of issues. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great music coming. So get ready, get your dust off your headphones, and prepare. And you have my permission to fly, and go for it. And then yeah, I'm really excited about the Dream Theater thing. It's coming together beautifully. We're going to be touring around the world. If anybody can come out and see it, it's going to be a great show. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the road.
Thank you, Jordan, and appreciate your time. As soon as I get this published, I will send it to you. I will tag you on your social media so you can help me share it with your fans.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Jorge. Good to see you, man.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.